Have you ever wondered how much difference can a tomato base make between two Indian-inspired curries? I'm here to help you find out. I make two tandoori-style chicken curries exactly the same way with an exception of one ingredient, tomato. Is there any noticeable difference hiding behind the spices and the flavorful Indian curry? We're about to find out, so let's roll. First of all, what I like to do is to cut two medium-sized onions into small cubes and put on the side. Then I prepare my cutting station for the meat. As you probably know, I use a different color cutting board for the raw meat to avoid cross-contamination, and I do recommend you to do the same as well. I make two small curries enough to feed 2 or 3 people, so what I like to do is to use a half chicken breast in one pot. I cut the breast into 1 to 1.5 inches or 2.5 to 3 centimeters cubes, then put it on the side. Then I get a skillet and preheat it on a high heat, add a tablespoon of any neutral tasting oil like canola, and the chicken breast, then let it pan sear until it gets a nice color like this. Just pay attention to apply high heat during the whole process, otherwise it's gonna be cooked instead of nicely seared. When you're ready with that, just put the chicken on the side, and please don't even think about washing the skillet, cause we're gonna need all the flavors from the bottom of it later. Okay, let's jump to the gravy. For that I like to start to saute the chopped onion with a tablespoon of canola oil. Then add a small handful of cashews. Then grate or finely chop 1 clove of garlic and throw in the base together with a half cup or 120 ml of water and 4 tablespoons of tomato paste. I put the lid on and let it simmer for 10 minutes or until the onion becomes fully cooked. Meanwhile, I make the other gravy as well. Exactly the same way, but instead of the paste I like to add 8 to 10 cherry tomatoes or 2 large tomatoes. You can also remove the skin of the tomato if you cut the surface of it and put it in hot water for 5 minutes. But it's not really necessary. Then I also let it simmer for 10 minutes. After that, I pour some water in the skillet which I use to sear the chicken and stir it with a spatula to get all those flavors melt in the water, and add to the base together with 1 tablespoon of ginger paste and a half cup or 125 grams of plain yogurt. I mix it well and I get my hand blender and I start to blend everything together into a nice smooth gravy. When you're done with that, you can already notice the color difference between the two gravies. This one is made with the fresh tomatoes, and this one is the tomato paste based one. Yeah, cool, right? But let's move on and spice that thing up. I know it's not 100% authentic, but these are the spices what I like to use in tomato based curries. 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 small teaspoons of garam masala, half teaspoon of ground cinnamon divided between the two gravies, 1 teaspoon of brown mustard seeds, 1 teaspoon of Kashmir chili powder, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 3/4 teaspoons of ground coriander seeds, 1 heaped teaspoon of turmeric, and a small pinch of ground cardamom seeds. Then mix both thoroughly and let it simmer until it gets thick like this. After that, all there is left to do is to put back the seared chicken in the gravy, divide it equally, and simmer it for 3 to 5 minutes more on low heat. And here you go. Alright, so we're done with both curries, so it is time to taste and test. So this one is made with the fresh tomatoes, and this is the one made with the paste. For the first side there is nothing really conspicuous. Maybe just a slightly different color, but it's not as visible as it was before I added the spices. So let's move on and check out the taste. Start with the fresh tomato based one. And yeah, it is nicely balanced, has a little tangy aftertaste from the tomato, the spices are pronounced, but it all comes once as a nice mixture. I do not really taste them individually, but together it's warming and amazingly tasty. It also has some nuttiness coming from the cashews, and the yogurt helps the flavor to get rounded, mild and creamy. That's amazing, but let's check out the other one as well. It also has a nice rounded spiciness and a big bold flavor, but as I expect it has a more dominant tomato-like taste, which is a bit too much for me. It reminds me a little bit of an Italian tomato pasta where the tomato is the key and the main ingredient. It has all the flavors just like in another one, but it has a more aggressive taste than the fresh tomato based one. My final thoughts are straight. I much more like the curry made with the fresh tomatoes than the other one, because it has a more sophisticated and more mild and rounded taste where the spices can shine and not overwhelmed. which I really enjoy. Make the perfect rice for it, and there you go. But hey, why don't you give it a try and make both at home? Or if you believe in my personal senses, just make the fresh tomato-based one. You won't regret.